The leader of government business in the House presented the business questions without notice during her honor, the Vice President's question time.
And after that, the House considered questions for oral answer number 247, understanding order 80. And then after that, the House went on to continue with the President's address and that the thanks of the Assembly be recorded for the exposition contained in His Excellency the President's address to the House. And this motion was moved by Mr. Sunday Chanda, Kanchivia, Member of Parliament. And of course, there being no further business, the House adjourned accordingly at 10:35 hours. And just now we have a look at business expected to be discussed on the floor of the House today, 13th March 2025.
Yes, Pauline, today on the order paper, we have announcements if there will be any. Urgent matters without notice, 6 questions for oral answer, understanding order 80. We also have a motion. We expect Chinsali, Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, to move a motion urging the House to adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 56th Plenary Assembly of the Southern African Development Community Parliamentary Forum SADC PF held in Livingstone, Zambia from 8th to 15th December 2024 for the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 3rd March 2025.
Yes, Matimba, the House is also expected to continue debating the President's address. This is the motion that was moved by Kanchivia, Member of Parliament. So that is it. Some of the business expected on the floor of the House this afternoon. But we look at briefly just some of the questions that are expected to come on for consideration on the floor, Matimba.
We expect question number 247 to come from Lukashia, Member of Parliament, Mr. George Chisanga, and he's directing his question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. He wants to find out a question in 3 parts. How many cases of theft of petroleum products from railway wagons were recorded on the Copperbelt province from 2022 to 2024 year by year? How many suspects were arrested in connection with the thefts and convicted by the courts of law? And in part C of the question, the Member of Parliament for Lukasha wants to find out what short-term and long-term measures are being taken to curb the vice.
And question 248 is coming from Kanyama, Member of Parliament, Mr. Monti Chinkuli, and he's directed his question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. In the first part of the question, he wants to know how many roads are earmarked for rehabilitation under the Lusaka Urban Road Rehabilitation Project. And part B of the question, how many roads had been rehabilitated as of December 2024. And part C of the question, what the time frame for the completion of the project is.
Question number 249 is expected to come from Chimwemwe, Member of Parliament, Mr. Allen Banda, and he's directing his question to the Minister of Health. He wants to find out what measures the government is taking to reduce the prevalence of cardiovascular deaths, whether cardiovascular disease patients will be exempt from paying prescription charges in public health facilities countrywide. And in the last part of the question, he wants to find out if the measures at A do not include the exemption at B, then why.
And we have question 251 also directed to the Minister of Health, and is coming from Chienge, Member of Parliament, Ms. Given Kata. And in the first part of the question, she wants to know how many cases of mental countrywide from 2021 to 2024 year by year. And part B of the question, how many of the following medical personnel were there as of 2025? And these are psychiatric doctors and also psychiatric nurses. And part C of the question, whether the personnel at B were sufficient to handle all the cases of mental health countrywide. And part C, how prepared the government is to handle psychiatric cases countrywide, especially in rural areas.
Another question is expected to come from Kawe Central Member of Parliament, Ms. Chrysosta Halwindi, and she's directing her question to the Minister of Community Development and Social Services. She wants to find out how many beneficiaries of the emergency social cash transfer there were in Kawe Central Parliamentary Constituency as of December 2024, whether the government has any plans to increase the number of beneficiaries in the constituency in 2025, and if there are no such plans, why?
And so those are some of the questions expected for consideration on the floor of the House. So as you can see, the Speaker's procession making its way into the House. And just now we cross over to the floor of the House. Good afternoon.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of work and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our rights. We want freedom side, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, passion will not let by those who blend. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, 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 remain with stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Being with us on Parliament television, bells are ringing. The quorum hasn't yet been constituted. It is a requirement that 1/3 of members of Parliament must be present in the House for any business to transact. And so once the quorum has been constituted, we expect business of the House to commence.
Yes, Matinda, the bells will continue ringing, and I think we cross back to the floor of the House. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for tuning into Parliament Television. A quorum has not yet been constituted, and it is required that the House has to have 1/3 of the members of Parliament for business to resume. And in this case, the House is yet to have a quorum, and the bells are still ringing. And on the order paper for today, expected are 6 questions, and then we have one motion to be moved by Chensali, Member of Parliament, and this is on the report of the Zambian delegation to the 46th Plenary Assembly of the Southern Africa Development Community Parliamentary Forum. This House to adopt the report of delegation to the 56th of the SADC Africa, the South Government Community SADC PF, and that was held in Livingstone, Zambia from 6 to 15 of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of March 2025. Is expected to be seconded by Mr. Victor Lumai. After that, we expect resumption of debate on the President's address to the House. So that is all the business on the floor of the House. We have 6 questions, we have 1 motion, and resumption of debate on the President's address.
And so just now we look at some of the questions that are expected to be considered on the floor of the House. We expect question 252 to come from Pika, Member of Parliament, and he's directing his question to the to find out when the government will Dik in the Mutengo villages, Changalido Clinic, Nabwalia Clinic, Danger Hill Primary School, Mulolesha Primary School, Mwantenshi Primary School, Ndolesha Primary School, Sabwa Primary School, Mukantaulo Primary School.
I'm sure the bells are ringing. 7 minutes, I'm sure it's over 7 minutes. Almost it was 14:37. Problem of celebrations. Understand because of the distance. The consciences are just too vast.
Government will electrify the following in Mbika district. These are Dik and Mutengo villages, Nabwalia Clinic, Danger Hill, Mololesha Primary School, Mwateshi Primary School, Ndolesha Primary School, Sabwa Primary School, Mukantaulo Primary School, Chishala Primary School, Changalilo Secondary School, Chipundu Secondary School, and Kapoko Primary School. And in the last part of the question, he wants to find out what the estimated cost of
Order, Honorable. We now have Honorable members, I have 3 announcements. The first announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Touch of Eden School in Lusaka district. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of teachers and Ministry of Education administrators from Dudumwezi Parliamentary Constituency in Kalomo district. Order. Only big things come from Dudumwezi. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You are welcome. You may take your seats. Thank you. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of visitors from Women Environs in Zambia in Chongwe district. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. Urgent matters without notice. I see none. Questions for all answer under Standing Order 80. The Honorable Member for Lukasha. The Honorable Member for Lukasha. I'm sure he's still traveling. Since there were no prior arrangements, the question in accordance with our standing orders lapses. Next question, the Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 248.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam, thank you very much. And thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanyama, who wishes to ask the Minister of Local Government a question. The question is, how many roads are earmarked for rehabilitation under the Lusaka Urban Rehabilitation Project? At B, he wishes to know how many roads have been rehabilitated as of December 2024. He wishes to know for Mr. Chu. I wish to inform this August House the following: that the rehabilitation project started in the year 2020 with a total of 45 roads earmarked for rehabilitation, which translates to 78.5 kilometers of road network. At B, as of December 2024, 24 roads in Lusaka City had been fully and completed rehabilitated, translating to a total of 32.83 kilometers of road network. At C, the urban road rehabilitation project in Lusaka is expected to be completed in the year 2027. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Minister, thank you for that explanation. Madam Speaker, in my own understanding, Madam Speaker, when we want to take development, we look at, among other factors, we look at the population. And knowing that in Lusaka, Kanyama has got the highest population. Now, looking at my thinking, which has been defeated, Minister, is what criteria do you use to identify which road you are going to work first before others? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and also thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanyama, Mr. Chunkuli, for that question. Indeed, demographics are part of the considerations when you are bringing service to the people. In the case of Lusaka roads, you may want to understand that what weighed in the most was how commercial these roads were, and from the list part of, because if I read everything, it may take the whole day, you may then understand why we settled for those roads. So part of the high-ranking conditions are basically the commercial viability of these roads. The roads that we have rehabilitated are as follows, Madam Speaker, just to pick a few. The Tokyo Ring Road, we did 4 kilometers. We did 0.4 kilometers. The Community Road, we did 1.1 kilometer. The Chandwe-Msonda Road, we did 1.3 kilometer. The Kasangula Junction Road, we did 0.3 kilometer. The Arcades Drainage, as you know, we have suffered, including the members' motel, flooding during the time of excessive rain. We did the drainage for Thabo-Mbeki Road across the Greatest Road, which road at the time it was fixed, and I'm speaking about the flyover bridge. Those who were there before us did not recognize that they had actually created a dam, a holding dam, that all water that was coming from one end to the other would terminate at the bridge because it had no passage to go to the drainage that leads, the Millennium Challenge account drainage that leads water to the Ngwerere River. We also did the Makishi Road, which I'm sure you believe it is good for connectivity, because before it was a nightmare to move even from the Great North Road to the Greatest Road. I want to assure the Honorable MP for Kanyama that yes, demographics are part of the story, and that the constituency that he represented did not go shy of any of these assignments. For instance, we did the Lady Diana drainage in Mumbwa Road, which drainage, Madam Speaker, if we did not do, the floods that we experienced in Kanyama would have been double in terms of affecting our people negatively. We did the Chunga dump site. I'm sure you know we all benefit from the Chunga dump site because that's where we take our waste. So Kanyama was not excluded. As a matter of fact, we did the Karushawalia drainage in his constituency. I want to terminate by saying the development agenda has to be taken systematically and with an approach to make sure that you give priority which will affect the people more positively than the manner in which it was before, for political appeasement, that the loudest noise is where you took the roads. As it is, Madam Speaker, I get a lot of demands, even from private individuals. Just today, the Ambassador Masiku, who many of us know, former ambassador to Japan, sent me a video of how the road where he lives in Kanyama constituency looks like. Unfortunately, we agreed as a group of people running the affairs of this country that we will not overcommit and throw our nation in the debt, because as it is, we are so deep in debt that as we are trying to sort out the debt mountain that was left for us by our friends who left, we must do things in a measured way so that we do not inflate the debt stock. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister of Local Government. Honorable Minister of Local Government, I'd like to commend you and your team for that very important decision that you made in terms of how you allocate national resources, especially on the fact that you have committed yourself not to acquire debt unnecessarily. Even under a shrinked physical space, you've been able to itemize some of the roads that you have done in Lusaka, which are very, very clear. But I would like to implore you also to ensure that our government publicity systems should laud this very important work. Now, my question is around the next steps, especially some of the roads that were actually assured of being done. I'm thinking of Shantumbu Road. Shantumbu Road leads to a productive area where some mining activity is taking place, and a big chunk of population, especially the high-end population, are living there. A lot of construction that has gone there. Give us an assurance if Shantumbu is one of those earmarked for actually upgrading to bituminous standards, including Katwetwe Road, which is off Shantumbu Road. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Let me begin by thanking the Honorable MP for the kind words and the accolades. Madam Speaker, there are many roads that are of priority and top priority, as a matter of fact. And it is true that most of the population in Lusaka is growing in all directions, including Shantumbu Road. Shantumbu Road is also a very economic road. So I can confirm, Honorable Member of Parliament, for Zambezi East, that Shantumbu Road is one of the roads that we have earmarked for upgrade and rehabilitation in the shortest possible time when funds are made available. And so be rest assured that your accolades of us not increasing the debt stock is not taken for granted. We appreciate that. And also be assured that not always is loud strong and quiet weak. The issue of publicity, I've taken note, but I can also assure you that, for instance, the people who live in Matero constituency on Trikatane Road, which we did 4 kilometers of that road, has received very high commendations from the residents of that place. So it is not always, it's a good thing to have good publicity, but sometimes actions speak louder than words. And therefore, I take note of that, and we will try and heighten the publicity platform for our citizens to know that we are not just sitting idle. It may be interesting for you to know that me, here where you see me as minister responsible for this same activity, I still live on a gravel road. My house is on a gravel road. And I have been told, but you are the minister. I said there are more higher priorities than putting tarmac where I live, because it will be irresponsible for me to give priority to the place where I live, simply because I live there and I'm privileged to be found in the office that runs these affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Mandevu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Mandevu an opportunity to ask a question on this critical topic. The submission by the Honorable Minister is that consideration was being given to commercial roads to undertake these rehabilitations to bituminous standards. I want to find out, when you talk about commercial, commercial is synonymous with profit. How much traffic goes through Fairview Road, 4 kilometers of Fairview Road, than the bad roads of Kanyama? How much traffic of Fairview Road compared to the roads, the bad roads of Mandevu? Minister, we as members of parliament, specifically Kanyama and myself, we are here representing a lot of people. For your information, I was voted by more than 67,000 people. You didn't consult me. to submit the roads that we wanted in Mandevu. We only benefited 0.3 kilometers of these roads. If not political, what consideration were you putting in place to allocate these roads? Because the people of Mandevu are not happy. When you go to Mazabuka today, the roads are third roads in the CBD. Yet you are saying that your road is gravel. Your constituents today.
The honorable member for Mandevu, just ask a question. Let's not debate.
Madam Speaker, the people of Mandevu are not happy with the way the roads, third roads, are being allocated in the Ministry of Local Government. Of the 32 kilometers of roads, how many kilometers were done under Mandevu? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Mandevu, who enjoys the status of being my son, my own biological son, who in Tonga we say, Iwa Mwindi. And for the passion in which he asked this question, just to put things correctly, the Fairview Road is 0.4 kilometers, not 4 kilometers. So probably you didn't get me right. And 0.4 kilometers is 400 meters. Like from here, probably to the exit of this Mandahill Road. It's a very short road. And it must be understood by yourself that in Mandevu, where you are, I believe that Chamba Valley is in Munali. Kasangula Road is in Mandevu. Am I right? Yes. I want you to know that in our own limited wisdom, we did Kasangula Road. And when you bring Mazabuka into context and arising from the question that I answered earlier on, that I live on a gravel road, the fact still remains that I live on a gravel road, because facts do not change. The Mazabuka Road that you are referring to, I can confirm, Madam Speaker, that Mazabuka received a total of 6.0 kilometers of bituminous standard roads as a way of circumventing just what we experienced 2 nights ago when there was a tragic accident that plunged into ShopRite. I'm sure you know that before we did that bypass, we used to record accidents almost on a daily basis of people losing tracks. So that was a life-saving arrangement rather than coming from a position of selfishness. And I can also confirm that in my past life, when I was an opposition member of parliament, Mazabuka is one that did not get even 1 inch of bituminous standard road under the government where my son, the Honorable MP for Shakafuswa, belongs to. So I want to say we are coming from a clean slate ourselves. In Mandevu, come to the office, convince me where you think there's too much pressure. And within the week, we will respond accordingly, because that is our nature. We will respond. Madam Speaker, I have protection from my son, because sometimes he forgets that when the parent is speaking,
he's also my son. I don't know what happened to him over the weekend.
My son is responding to an invitation, an open invitation, because my office is characterized by an open door policy. Come over there, we sit down. We need to give priority here and not there. And these ears will listen to you, and we will act accordingly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. So here is to engage. No matter how many times you go, you should continue going until the minister gets tired and he responds to you positively. The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you so much for your responses. You know what is surprising me is the fact that where these roads have been, constructed, we've got beautiful roads, better roads. So it's like it's an addition to what is already in existence. But now if you look at Kanyama, we don't have a road there, tarred road. Something which is, making, the flooding issue, a menace each time it rains. So my question is, to avoid these perennial cries over floods in Kanyama, because I believe when a road is constructed, a proper drainage will be put in place. So now to avoid all this, just give us an assurance as how soon at least a road or two will be constructed in Kanyama. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to try and give more clarity in the manner that we operate ourselves as a government. One, the issue of simply saying, let's put a road here and put a road there, one in each constituency, may not arise. And many have argued that, no, if we do this, then we will stand a chance of being re-elected. The MMD, they had Formula 1. I'm sure you all understand what Formula 1 was, where they put thin layer low-spec roads. PF came, they said, no, it's a construction site now. They're putting this flyover bridge, creating dams, causing members of parliament to flood. Last year, they had to leave the parliament motel because someone put a flyover bridge without giving consideration that they are waterways. Now, they still lost elections. Under the leadership of our president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, have quickly gotten out of the thinking and the norm that Lusaka is Zambia and Zambia is Lusaka. We are not in that business. We want to build and develop Zambia in a wholesome manner. And this is why, under the flagship program that is domiciled in the ministry that I am privileged to run, the president, together with his able Minister of Finance, decided to not just walk the decentralization by devolution walk, but to match it with resources. So that what is going on in Kaputa, here where my honorable colleague comes from, the Minister of Sports, in Kaputa there is no tarmac. There's no tarmac. So why would anyone think that we should give priority only to Lusaka and neglect the rest of the country? It becomes a very unfair way of thinking. In our case, Madam Speaker, we are sending 36.1 million kwacha to every constituency, 156 of them, on a yearly basis, for the people down there to give priority to the things that they want to happen in their respective jurisdictions. So the issue of tarmac, it is a necessity. It is a necessity. I'm dreaming of a day when Chieng will have tarmac. There, she's smiling. I'm dreaming of that day when, Nchelenge will have tarmac. And part of getting this right, Madam Speaker, as I finish, is to agree that we must walk this walk of breaking the constituencies into smaller units. Nchelenge, Kasempa, Kaputa, they need to be delimitated. We need to break them so that there's no stress in giving representation to our people. Because if Nchelenge is broken into two, it means it will be receiving 72 or 73 million kwacha per annum. What will be difficult about bringing development to the people of Nchelenge, because from that money, which is half today, it will be double tomorrow. I will take this platform to request all well-meaning members of parliament, regardless of whether your constituency is small like Mazabuka, to support the delimitation agenda so that we can bring development to our people expressly. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. There was an indication member for Mandevu for a point of order. What's the point of order, Honorable Member?
Madam Speaker, we are very grateful as a people of Mandevu for this opportunity to raise a point of order. The Member of Parliament for Kanyama raised the question on how many kilometers of roads were done under the Lusaka Urban Road Rehabilitation. And we asked the Minister points of clarification on roads under this program in Lusaka. In his subsequent answers, he started talking about Lusaka being Zambia, when the topic was about the roads under Lusaka. Was he in order to trivialize his question, which is meant to improve the livelihoods of the people of Lusaka, when in fact the minister did not even consult the important stakeholders, such as the MPs, the councillors? He implemented these roads himself with his technocrats. Was he in order, Madam Speaker? I need your serious ruling.
What happened to the Youth Day celebrations? Sorry. Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Mandevu, for your point of order. But I believe the Honorable Minister was explaining the context of the Lusaka urban roads in relation to the whole country. So for him to be able to explain, he had to look at the whole picture, the whole country. And that's why he brought in the other issues of the national roads and also the issue of delimitation. So the Honorable Minister was in order. He was just giving extra information for you to appreciate that Mandevu is not Zambia. And Zambia is not Mandevu. Zambia is huge, with the 20 million people who also want study roads. Okay. Yeah. Youth Day, Abwele Sakantu. Youth Day has brought problems. I don't know if my son is still a youth or he has graduated. So let's make progress with that. We go to the next question. The Honorable Member for Chimwemwe.
Question 249, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you for the opportunity, Madam. With your permission, Madam, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanyama was squeaking behind to say the question was not answered. But maybe if you allow me just a second before I go to this question, that the Kalushawalia drainage is in his constituency. The Lady Diana drainage is in his constituency. And there is no fixing any road without providing for drainages and waterways. So work has been done, sir, in your constituency. The drainage is part of the road. It's a road for water, in case you want me to just be a bit more clear. The drainage is a highway for water, and it's part of the infrastructure. Mr. Alan Banda, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Chimwemwe, is asking the Minister of Health at A, what measures government is taking to reduce the prevalence of cardiovascular diseases in Zambia. At B, he wishes to know whether cardiovascular diseases patients will be exempted from paying prescription charges in public health facilities in the whole country. And at C, he wishes to know if the measures at A do not include the exemption at B, the reason why. I want to state from the beginning my deep appreciation for the question coming from our Honorable Member of Parliament for Chimwemwe. Thank you very much, sir. Madam Speaker, to reduce the prevalence of cardiovascular diseases in Zambia, the government, through the Ministry of Health, has approached the issue through a multifaceted approach and intervention, which include and not limited to the following. And just for avoidance of doubt, because cardiovascular is a medical terminology, these are heart diseases. That's what the MP for Chimwemwe wishes to know. One, the prevention and public education. Government, through the Ministry of Health, has been conducting awareness campaigns on radio, on television, on mobile phones to promote low-salt diet, and also physical activities and cessation of smoking or stopping to smoke cigarette. Two, strengthening the healthcare system. This is through training of nurses and community health workers to screen the hypertension and other cardiovascular risk factors during routine visits. Access to cardiovascular medicines. The Ministry of Health has improved the supply of antihypertensives. This was ensuring that the cardiac medicines are included in the essential drugs or medicine list. The availability of antihypertensives in the public health facilities are at 75%. Emergency care. The Ministry of Health is expanding access to emergency cardiac care by equipping hospitals with the basic resuscitation tools and placement of high-end equipment in hospitals such as X-ray machines, CT scanners, MRI in tertiary hospitals, as well as training health workers in acute cardiovascular disease management. Three, policy and regulation. Madam Speaker, working with the other line ministries, government ensures that correct labeling on salt and sugar content are adhered to on the foodstuffs that we consume, as well as the beverages that we consume. Addressing socio-economic determinants of cardiovascular diseases through wellness programs, such as encouraging our citizens, our employees, to allow employers to allow their employees to engage in some form of exercise breaks. Even simply just walking makes a difference in one's health because you burn some calories. For example, having dedicated an afternoon for exercise, as the case is with security wings. The police, I think, have a free Wednesday for exercise, or Thursday, and so on and so forth. Community and cultural engagements of religious leaders, community leaders, local influencers in disseminating health messages on cardiovascular and other non-communicable ailments. Madam Speaker, reducing the prevalence of deaths, which is really, really rampant. We're getting a lot of people getting strokes and some just outrightly dying from the first stroke as a result of cardiovascular diseases. It does require a multifaceted approach, like I said in my maiden paragraph in this answer, and it involves individuals. It involves communities, healthcare systems, as well as policymakers. May I take now this opportunity, Madam Speaker, members of this august House, to encourage the House and indeed the public to conduct periodic medical hypertensive sugar level checks and adopt a healthy lifestyle of regular exercise and watching what we eat or diet. Madam Speaker, cardiovascular patients do not pay, this is the answer at B, for prescription medicines in our public health facilities. Therefore, it goes without saying that C above falls off because our citizens do not pay for prescriptions. Once again, thank you, colleague, for bringing such a very important question to this House.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Minister, for your answers. Honourable Minister, awareness is surely a right way of actually helping people know about the cardiovascular illness. However, there's the awareness programs that you've lined up for the country. Looks like it's favoring the people along the line of rail. However, in the villages, because some people do not have access to the radio, and perhaps they may not even get closer to the clinic. What program do you have for the rural community with regards to awareness? Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honourable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member, for the follow-up question. I have been around this country for a very long time. If there are any societies that do not have access to community radios, there are very, very few. What I said in my response is that this campaign for cardiovascular ailment awareness is all-encompassing. I spoke about the church. Everybody goes to church, whether it is to go and worship for redemption or to go and bid farewell to a loved one at a funeral. Everyone goes to church. Even atheists go to church when there's a funeral. We are all under some form of traditional leadership, zeroing in down on the question that regards the rural areas and the lack of radio. I have said we have engaged the House of Chiefs, the traditional leadership, the councillors who are the leaders of the smallest unit of political order, the headmen, in order to promote this, what I call lifestyle. It may be interesting for you, Honourable Member of Parliament, for me to say what I'm about to say. Here in the cities is where cardiovascular diseases are most rampant, and it's because of the stuff we eat. Without mentioning any trade name of any food, but it's normally called junk food. Chips, sausage and chips, pork, the lifestyle. They call this, some of them loosely, the hypertension and high blood pressure as an ailment of the affluent. The haves and not the have-nots. Because the have-nots normally eat a balanced diet. It is you people here in Lusaka who eat meat every day who are at risk of these diseases. And you are the ones with cars which has radio. You are the one who have, facility to Hot FM, to Radio Phoenix, to what is it called, this one? Kalemba, these social media things. It is yourselves. So I think the message is landing really on the target market for these cardiovascular ailments. It is a disease for the high-end people who live and eat excess protein, excess fat, excess salt, excess sugar, and so on and so forth. I hope that I've reached your question, Honourable colleague.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chiengi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And allow me just to celebrate the power of a woman. To all the women there, starting with you, our very own owner, and the rest of women in Zambia. I just want to say congratulations for being women. Madam Speaker, I've been listening to the response of the Acting Minister of Health, This is one of my heartbeat. It's hypertensive and also anything to do with these non-communicable diseases. Madam Speaker, the Minister is talking about creating awareness using the radio stations. We have this house where we can make laws. I think this will be the best law that we can bring on the floor of the House. In East Africa, they don't take white sugar. Those are some of the things I just want to give an example. In other countries, even Russia, to see sugar is not an easy thing. Now, my question to the Minister of Health is, why can't we just, them, when I say them, the police initiators is the cabinet, to come up with a very good policy where we're going to change into a law. Or we move a member's motion here that every Zambian should not be taking white sugar, and also there should be some kind of laws that should be given to the Zambia Bureau or whatever, so that we check the contents of this sugar. People still take sugar, Madam Speaker, but we need to amend, we need to come up with the laws. Now my question is, Honorable Minister, as a cabinet minister, why don't you bring us a policy that will help this House to enact so that we can stop taking, we can stop eating too much of sugar, Coca-Cola, Fanta, and all these artificial drinks, Madam Speaker. They have high contents of sugar. So I'd like to find out if the cabinet can help us so that we establish a proper law. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the kind words for women. I am sure one day we'll have more women in this House. We look forward to that day. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Madam, where it comes to that question from the Honorable Member of Parliament for Chienge, I am totally conflicted. Why I'm totally conflicted, Madam Speaker, is that the people who vote for me in that place called Mazabuka, they survive on this commodity called sugar. We are the biggest producers of sugar, probably south of the equator, Mazabuka district. Maybe second, Sudan is on top. Anything that is done in excess is wonderful. It brings wonder. I did not say stop taking sugar. And I'm glad you asked that question, because my voters would have probably said, what is he doing now? Take sugar, but take it in moderation. That is the point. And we cannot legislate, for instance, alcohol intake. Because we all know alcohol is not good once taken in excess. The issue here is to moderate. Whether it's brown sugar, whether it's fortified by vitamin A, sugar is sugar. There where you come from in Kaputa, there are low prevalences of hypertension because people eat generally a balanced diet, a diet that is free of excess fat, excess salt, excess sugar. And so let's not just look at sugar alone, because then it will injure me as a person. In my answer, I spoke about salt, I spoke about fat, I spoke about anything done in excess, lack of exercise. When you exercise, pay attention, Honorable Member of Chienge. I'm answering you, my sister. Please don't bring the fight just to one product called sugar. It is a whole lifestyle pattern that increases the issue of cardiovascular ailments, including smoking. You know, smoking is an old habit, Madam Speaker. And if anybody were to say, what among these things would you like people to stop doing? Eat sugar or stop smoking? I'm sure that eat sugar will not be anywhere near the list of those people generally believe. Because smoking is very harmful. Like anything, even if you overeat in Shima, it becomes harmful. The issue is to regulate the intake of sugar and not to ban sugar. We need the sugar. After all, it provides energy.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mansa Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I ask my question, white sugar and brown sugar just differ by 5 units in terms of calories, and they essentially have the same effect on the human body. Madam Speaker, cardiovascular diseases have now assumed epidemic proportions. My concern, Honorable Minister, is our reaction. If you just look at your data, the highest case fatality, when you look at your top 10 causes of fatality in the country, case fatality rates, the highest from our data was cardiovascular diseases. But if you look at your budget, your allocation of resources, it doesn't align. In other words, we don't see sufficient resources for health promotion, which you've talked about. We don't see health in all policy being propagated. You've talked about health in all policy in a different way. It summons all stakeholders to the table to do what they can in their fields to contribute to good health. For instance, those in infrastructure must ensure roads have walkways where people can walk, cycle, jog. Those in education must ensure that the health promotion is being streamed in their curriculum by talking about health living in schools. In broadcasting, they should open up every morning after the national anthem with a word on how to live healthy. The epidemic we're talking about here is claiming professionals every day. Teachers are collapsing in their classrooms, professionals, economic contributors to our economy. They are collapsing on a daily basis out of heart attacks, out of strokes. We need to react to this epidemic by enhancing health in all policy and health promotion. And finally, Honorable Minister, at the Invest Teaching Hospital, there's a machine called a cardiac catheterization machine, which is a very, very important tool in managing people who come in as emergencies with heart attacks. It's been dysfunctional for a long time. Can we have it fixed? And cardiovascular diseases is not just about heart diseases, it's heart diseases and diseases of the vessels, just to add to what you said earlier. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much for that information. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Dr. Chitalu, for your contribution and your question. Madam, when I answered Mr. Allen, the MP for Chimwemwe, I began by giving my gratitude for bringing such a question to this House. And I also said, this is an all-involving, all-encompassing fight. I also was very clear about the issue of physical exercise, which I think Dr. Chilufya touched on. Regarding that machine he's speaking about, I would have to be given a chance to come back because I cannot think on my feet, and as you know, I'm just acting in this portfolio. But maybe I could ask the substantive minister, Honorable Dr. Muchima, to come and attend to that particular segment of his inquiry so that we are all on one page. But suffice to say, I'm very thankful for your contribution. Me, as you know, Dr. Chilufya, you yourself has seen me jogging at 6 o'clock in the morning. One day you stopped to greet me and said, so this is how you live. And at the age of 60, I can confirm to you that I do, all things being equal, 5-6 kilometers of a run or walk without challenges. And if you come to my office, I operate from the 5th floor. And because of the challenges we've had with electricity, many people get surprised. I walk up and down that building and it's like a cup of tea. So it is true that we must just go in a robust way to sensitize our people about the need to remain physically fit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, high blood pressure and high cholesterol levels are the major risk factors for these cardiovascular diseases. I'm a patient myself. Statin is the medication administered to me who is a patient to reduce the high cholesterol levels. Statin is not there in our health facilities. To buy it from private pharmacies is quite expensive. Even the machine to perform the cardioangiogram are not there in our health facilities unless you go to a private hospital. What is it that you are doing about these challenges that your health institutions are facing? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, in answering Dr. Chilufya's question, I pleaded that I pass on this question about this machine to the substantive minister when he returns so that he can give a comprehensive status quo on this machine which we need. If it is true that it's not functioning, allow me in my handover of these questions to tell Dr. Muchima to come to this house and give us an update on the status quo regarding this machine that you are speaking about.
There is also the availability of the drug that the Honorable Member for Masaiti was talking about. Maybe the Honorable Member for Masaiti can give the details to the Acting Minister, which can be passed on to the Substantive Minister. The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I totally agree with you on the issues of the causes of cardiovascular diseases, especially the issue of smoking and also high intake of sugar products. And that's the reason why we need to see the Tobacco Control Health Bill come to Parliament. However, just in adding to the question that has been asked by the Member of Parliament for Chiengi, I wanted to find out whether government has got any intention of introducing a tax on all sugar products. A tax on all sugar products. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health, Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kawata. This is a matter that I can run by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry through the Zambia Bureau of Standards, who are the body responsible for that. And I think it's a normal thing to label products. That this, like alcohol, it's a requirement that anything brewed under the Zambian regulation should have alcohol content. So I do agree with you that the minister responsible must liaise with the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to make sure that people label their products in terms of content of cholesterol, sugar, salt, whatever may be harmful to the body. And allow me to just assure you that I'll run this by the minister.
Thank you very much. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Question 250.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But before I come to the question, I want to express my sincere gratitude to all members of Parliament who sent best wishes when I was sick. Colleagues, I've been battling with thyroid cancer for 11 months. Your prayers, all your wishes, I'm very, very grateful. Madam Speaker, I now come to the question. Ms. Halwindi, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kabwe Central Constituency, has asked the Minister of Community Development and Social Services a question in 3 parts. Part 1, how many beneficiaries of the emergency social cash transfer they were in Kabwe Central Parliamentary Constituency as at December 2024. B, whether the government has plans to increase the number of beneficiaries in the constituency in 2025. And C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, the response is as follows. I wish to inform the Honorable Member of Parliament that there were 6,502 beneficiaries on the Emergency Social Cash Transfer Program in Kabwe Central as at 31st December 2024. B, government has no immediate plans to increase the number of beneficiaries under the Emergency Social Cash Transfer in Kabwe in 2025. C, the Emergency Social Cash Transfer Program is expected to end in April 2025, following its commencement in May 2024. The program was a response to the drought situation in the country, which was declared as an emergency by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on the 29th February 2024. The Emergency Cash Transfer Program was designed and was implemented for only 12 months. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for that answer. And first of all, I just want to appreciate and thank you for that program that really helped our mothers, lactating mothers, pregnant mothers, during a time when we had a problem with food. It really helped our mothers. And they understand indeed that it was an emergency just meant to cushion our mothers. They could not go to work when there was cash for work. They could not go for work when there was food for work. Because indeed when somebody is pregnant, need care, not to have an abortion or stillbirth. And even lactating mothers, they need a lot of nutrition. And I brought up that question because there was questions from the constituents asking those that were left out if that program could continue. Now, thank you so much that is ending, but thank God that we have got enough food this year, and I'm sure there won't be a need to have that emergency social cash transfer. So I will deliver the message to the people of Kabwe Central constituency. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Since it was a comment, I'm sure the Honorable Minister doesn't need to respond unless if she wants to say something. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Madam, I would like to appreciate the Minister for her response. If you allow me, Madam, before I ask my question, kindly let me just appreciate the young people, the youths of this country, and appreciate their activities on their day, and also express my disappointment in the pockets where we witnessed what appeared to be political violence. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Minister indicated that the emergency social cash transfer is coming to an end in April of this year. And this particular program began as a result of as a response to the drought. I recall that a similar program was undertaken to respond to the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Now that this program is coming to an end, and in this particular period, we have witnessed floods, we have witnessed the pollution happening on the Copper Belt, in particular Kalulushi, Nkana, as well as the along the Kafue. Is the Honorable Minister considering extending this program for the sake of those who have been affected not only by floods, but also the pollution of their environment, thereby losing their crop? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Parliament for Lunte, for that question. There are no plans to extend the emergency social cash transfer. However, the ministry is looking at increasing the transfer value of the traditional cash transfer that we give our beneficiaries, considering the high cost of living. So that is on the table. We are discussing, and I will be coming to Parliament soon to deliver a statement.
Thank you very much. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving a chance to the people of Chienge to ask this very important question, question number 251.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Chienge, Ms. Given Katuta, Reverend, is asking the Minister of Health, at A, how many mental disorder were recorded countrywide from 2021 to 2024, year by year. At B, she wishes to know how many of the following medical personnel there were as of January 2025. Psychiatrists, doctors, psychiatric nurses. At C, she wishes to know whether the personnel at B were sufficient to handle all the cases of mental health countrywide. And at D, she wants to know how prepared government is to handle psychiatric cases countrywide, especially in the rural areas. Our response. Madam Speaker, the ministry recorded a cumulative number of mental disorders summing up to 99,093, which are broken down as follows. 2021, 19,000. 2022, 21,026. 2023, 27,010. 2024, 32,057. Madam Speaker, in terms of the medical personnel that she asked, at B, we have 16 psychiatrist doctors, and we also have 316 psychiatric nurses. Madam Speaker, we have, as a matter of fact, observed an increase in mental disorders. As such, there's need for an increased demand for mental health services and mental health care providers. The number at B is clearly insufficient to handle all mental health disorders. May I now state that other cadre of mental health include clinical officers and medical licentiate psychiatry, psychosocial counselors, and clinical psychologists. In addition, there are also programs of capacity building on non-mental health care to be able to screen, manage mild cares, and facilitate referral to specialized centers and units. Madam Speaker, there are various measures that have been put in place to ensure that they are adequately prepared to handle psychiatric cases countrywide, most of which have been highlighted in this House before under the question that was asked by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kalabo in the past, Honorable Miyutu. One, mental health and psychosocial support services have been fully integrated into both routine health care services and community-based responses. This ensures that medical health is addressed alongside physical health and can be assessed at any level of care. In October 2024, the government launched the Zambia Mental Health Package, drawing from the National Health Strategy Plan 2022 and 2026, which include a clear implementation roadmap to extend mental health services to more rural areas. 3, the decentralization of mental health services in all the 10 provinces. Decentralization ensures that the medical health care is more accessible to the people at community level, bridging the gap between the specialized care and everyday health services. Furthermore, psychiatric units have been set up in all level 1 and level 2 and also level 3 hospitals to increase access to mental health care. Madam, I wish to share with this august House that substance abuse and mental disorder are among the leading causes of hospital attendance among the people, our citizens in the youth bracket, while depression is common among women. Madam Speaker, the National Mental Health Technological Working Group was constituted to promote a collaborative approach with stakeholders, with representation from line ministries, religious groupings, community, and also youth organizations. Government has prioritized availability of psychotropic medicines and are now part of the essential medicine list. This means that they form part of the medicines that satisfy the priority health care needs of the population Zambia. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, a specific psychotropic medicine budget line has been introduced to ensure adequate psychotropic medicines are procured and also distributed. The government enacted Mental Health Act of 2019 in order to establish the Mental Health Care Council, which will dedicate and also oversee the mental health services, including that of ensuring that psychotropic medicines are available at the point of care. The board of the Mental Health Council has been appointed, and a budget line of 2 million kwachas operational fund has been provided for. Madam Speaker, government is continuously investing in the capacity building of community mental health support. This includes training in psychological first aid, PFA, to enable community members to support one another during a crisis. These trainings have been rolled out in various districts across our country, Zambia. To date, over 10,000 households have received psychological first aid with links established to mental health services. The commemoration of the World Suicide Prevention Day and the World Mental Health Day, promoting the significance of mental health. The community mental health sensitization and awareness has been enhanced using congregate settings such as churches, schools, etc. Monthly television and radio programs are also broadcast in local languages for awareness of mental issues. These efforts, Honorable Member of Parliament, for are instrumental in communities and increasing public awareness and available services. The mental health training package for primary health care providers has been developed with the support of the World Bank, as well as the psychosocial counseling training package with the support of UNICEF, in which primary health care providers are being trained on community mental health, including prevention care and support. The package is now available online to support ongoing learnings and mentorship for health care workers and other governmental sectors. Madam, telemedicine has also been integrated in medical health sports care as part of the health system strengthening efforts. A mentorship program for sub-district care and community workers has been established to provide real-time mental health care. Madam Speaker, since the year 2024 in March, a weekly webinar or presentation has been conducted to mentor community and primary health workers throughout the country. This initiative additionally does guarantee that patients can receive timely support without need to travel long distances to specialized facilities such as the Chanama Hills Hospital. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you. Madam Speaker, these are the patients who've been neglected in our country for a long time, or in the society who are not considered. Now, Madam Speaker, the question that I have for the Minister, looking at the numbers of the doctors and nurses, I think those just revolve around the urban areas. And when we talk of the rural areas, Madam Speaker, it's hectic. I'm a member of Parliament for a rural constituency. Now, the question that I have for the Minister or this ministry is, how soon can they come in to the aid of these patients in rural areas? Because those 316 are doctors, then 312, they are nurses who are not even in Mansa, they are not even in Chelenge, they are not even in Kalomo. These nurses normally are found maybe in Ndola, in Lusaka. So my question is, how soon can this ministry just, employ these personnel, these nurses and psychosocial? Because we do not have these in our hospitals in Chienge. And also, apart from Chienge, Madam Speaker, the whole country, you'll find that at the primary health care, we don't have such kind of doctors, we don't have such kind of nurses. So what is the government going to do in order for these patients to be helped? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, the Honorable Acting Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chienge, for that question. In my response, I was extremely clear in the submission that the workforce is insufficient. I was very clear about that. And it is now up to us as a people to continue identifying the areas of higher need against those that have lesser need. Madam Speaker, this government, under the leadership of our President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will go down in history as the government that did mass recruitment in the health sector, as a government that did a mass recruitment in the education sector. These mass recruitment are a manifestation of government's recognition of the many health care services that ordinarily our citizens should be enjoying and have not been enjoying for the last 60 years. So I would like to say on behalf of government that we are committed to those who may be having mental health challenges in Chienge and all the far-flung rural areas of our country. And because of the sparsely nature of our population or demographics in rural areas, it becomes a lot easier by someone who has such a challenge. And in my earlier long response, I was also clear that in order to fill the gap of this lack of medical personnel, a lot has been done in terms of mentorship, and I think I read a figure of more than 10,000 beneficiaries of this mentorship program that seeks to identify those that may be sliding into mental health challenges. We will get there, my sister, sooner rather than later, if we work together. The need is identified, and as we stabilize our fiscus, I can assure you that our state of mind is to make sure that we reduce the patient and doctor or nurse ratio in the country, so that we have as many health service providers as we need. We will get there one day. Thank you for that important question. And maybe while I'm on my feet, Madam Speaker, there was a question that was asked by the Honorable MP from Masaiti regarding that essential drug. I want to confirm here and now that that is not on the essential drug list. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kawata.
I am grateful, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I did actually listen to your submission, and you mentioned that most of these first-level hospitals, they do have a unit for mental health. But I think the issue that I wanted to raise is the issue of first-level hospital having wings, not just a unit, because a unit will only treat and leave that person without admitting. If you look at the statistics that you've given, 99,000, those are huge statistics, very huge. Now, my question is, the rehabilitation centers for mental disorders, they are not enough in our country. Most of the time you find patients are treated, then sent back into our communities where we have huge challenges. Even what you call community desk, we don't have. So what is government doing in terms of building rehabilitation centers for people that are suffering from mental disorder? Because 99,000 individuals that have been treated through Chainama, it's a big number, Honorable Minister. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kawata, for that question. Madam, to attend to this issue requires also a multifaceted approach. In my response, I indicated that one of the highest contributors of mental health services among the youth is substance intake. I also said that among the women is depression. It is true that the Chainama hospital may not have enough facility for both treatment and also rehabilitation. I can tell you now that under the leadership of our president, and I'm taking drug abuse as one such intervention that we've done, we are building a rehabilitation center in Chilanga for drug abuse patients who require rehabilitation. And it will be the first of its kind, and it is responding to the very question that you ask. I would like to submit that we have sufficient legislation that establishes safe houses, where people who require to be rehabilitated may be taken to until they get the full benefit of that rehabilitation. Again, I will suffice to mention that they may not be adequate considering the numbers that you are referring to of 99,000. It's a huge number. But something is being done, Honorable MP, to make sure that we provide for our citizens this particular service. Let me take advantage of that question, that this is a matter that affects all. Even as we are talking now, somebody is busy getting inebriated with excess alcohol intake. I'm sure you recall that this is the minister now acting as Minister of Local Government who caused a stir because of the things that as a society we decided to ignore for the longest time. And that is the brewing of cachaso, something that is rapidly debilitating our society. Madam, during cholera, you may be interested to know that many of the patients that contracted cholera last year that were taken to Chainama, after being treated of that pandemic, still remained in the hospital to deal with the issue of addiction. This is a silent problem that many people do not want to face with a head-on approach, citing human rights. I think we have to agree that in order to deal with such problems that look latent and mundane, that we need to take hard stances and ignore the issue sometimes of the fundamental rights and freedom of people to destroy themselves. When you see that someone is going into harm's way under a self-destruction path, they must be caged. They must be caged. If we agree as the congregation of leaders leading this country, the way you helped me to deal with the issue of street vending, because we agreed that this is not the way to go. I would like to garner some consensus among us that we have decided to bite the bullet, that anyone showing signs of alcohol abuse, substance abuse, we must get to the root. Because as teaching time saves 9, Madam Speaker. If we allow the situation to be dealt with at the level of treatment, we'll be deceiving ourselves. We need to get to the root. And we have to agree as a team here of legislators that when we go and enforce the ban of production of harmful substances, we must all be on one side. The church on the same side. The traditional leaders on the same side. You will find that those who are promoting that for pecuniary or monetary benefit will be alone, but in the process, we will be saving mankind. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mansa Central.
Thank you so much, Honorable Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I just want us to distinguish briefly between psychiatry and mental health. I think it's a very important distinction before I talk about the mental health policy that I would like you to enlighten the House on. Psychiatry usually refers to a medical specialty where there are diseases diagnosed and they require treatment using drugs, sometimes using hospitalization or in the community. Or mental health is broader. It encompasses psychological, emotional, and social well-being. I'm happy with what you said in that we are mainstreaming mental health in primary health care, because it shouldn't be restricted to treating people in psychiatry units like Chainama and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, it stigmatizes. I'd like to find out the progress made in terms of reviewing the mental health policy and the Mental Health Act in assuring that we mainstream primary health care, mental health services, and also we destigmatize people who are affected with mental health.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, you could do this minister a little favor, because the MP for Mansa was not very clear to me what he wishes to know. Is it possible, with your kindness, he can either radiate his voice into the microphone, or you just abbreviate the question on his behalf so that I can answer correctly?
I'll allow the Honorable Member for Mansa Central to repeat the question and to be precise.
Mental health is broad. It encompasses psychological, emotional, and social well-being. And it should not be reduced to treatment of psychiatry disorders in psychiatry units. So you're right in saying we need to mainstream mental health in primary health care in our communities. What the Honourable Member of Parliament is talking about, and I must take this opportunity to clarify, Mansa has a mental health unit and has mental health workers. Psychiatrists will be found in second-level hospitals, and there are not so many. We don't have psychiatrists everywhere. But mental health services must be available at primary health care level. How much are we doing in strengthening the mental health policy to ensure that these mental health services are mainstreamed in primary health services in our communities as a way of bringing mental health to the people?
The Honorable Acting Minister of Health, I hope you have gotten the question.
Somewhat. You know, when you are being asked by a technocrat, you have to be very careful because he understands this subject more than I will ever do. He's a doctor, I am not. But he's speaking to the issue of government policy. Madam, I did submit and agreed that the service provision is still way below expectations from the numbers that I gave to the Honorable MP for Chieng, which is an admission that more requires to be done in order to strengthen what I call the patient-doctor or nurse ratio to make sure that our services get down right up to the closest person, that voiceless person in our society. And she used Mansa as one of the examples of a big district provincial center with lacking medical services. And in her question, she plucked out one facet, which I would call a subset of the entire mental health problem, and that is that of psychiatry. And we plucked out depression, which is an emotional well-being, as well as substance intake. So in my answer, I picked substance intake to see how we can circumvent the continuous increase of this problem, which falls within the realm of mental health. So we need your hands, Dr. Chilufya. You are a guru in these things. We need your hands to come and say, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. Because during your time, I know as a Minister of Health, you did the best that you could, but you can still do more to help mankind.
The Honorable Member for Chieng.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to give me another opportunity. Minister, I appreciate that you are for the Minister of Health. Madam Speaker, Zambia has been trying to have universal health coverage to be domesticated, which has proven to be a bit difficult to be done in our country. And other issues maybe the ministry or the government understand as to why. In 2018, like you've mentioned, Minister, Dr. Chilufya was then the Minister of Health, and something was done to bridge, to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich in terms of accessing primary health care. Now, the challenge, Madam, when we talk about this mental health, like doctors mentioned, we find that especially access no one should be left behind. Now, what is it that the government is going to do? I know you're talking about how you can do the recruitment. What can be done in the meantime? Because, Madam Speaker, these patients' medicine is very, very expensive. It's very expensive. And to access this medicine again for the patients, depending on whatever medicine which is prescribed for these patients. So I'd like to find out how the government and the ministry, or through the Ministry of Health, is going to help these patients so that everyone is covered and no one is left behind with this in terms of accessing proper primary health care, also accessing the medicines. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam. Madam, the realization of any dream in terms of providing such medical services also lies in the economic well-being of a country. At this juncture, I'm sure you heard the President say we are now alone after the United States government decided to withdraw some of the humanitarian services that we were giving to the world and to Africa and to Zambia in particular. So, as we get along the path of economic strength, we will recruit more personnel, we will have more drugs. The idea is for you to work with us on this dream to provide, to be self-sufficient, for us to provide for our people. If you go to the budget from the time that we took office, you will realize that the health budget line remains better than it has ever been before, which is a manifestation that we take this issue of our citizens' health very seriously. And so a journey of 1 million miles starts with one step. We took that giant step of employing, how many were there, those nurses? 11,000 in that year, and we've continuously, cumulatively continued employing nurses or frontline health facilitators or practitioners. I was also clear that the ones who are not specialized in mental health have been given a platform for what I called capacity building for detection of mental health challenges, for early detection. I was also clear that at a community level, a lot have been trained to identify the neighbor who may be suffering from such a challenge. So whatever is at our disposal now, we are doing in order to address the issue of the health of our people. But we'll get there sometime.
Thank you. The next question, the Honorable Member from Pika.
I'm great, Madam Speaker. Question number 252.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as Minister responsible for the young people and who also presides over the affairs of the young people, allow me, Madam Speaker, to take advantage of this opportunity to congratulate, thank, and also appreciate the young people of this country who indeed turn in huge numbers to celebrate their day. And in particular, our young people of Mongo. We want to thank them most sincerely for turning in huge numbers, and also in a peaceful manner that they conducted themselves. The minister responsible for the young people, not, Madam Speaker, those that are trying to build something that was not there. I want to appreciate the manner in which they conducted themselves without recording incidences of violent activities. And above all, Madam Speaker, we should also thank the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for providing an enabling environment for even the opposition to also march in the way they did. If it was then, Madam Speaker, it would have been a different story. I think we need to give credit where it is due. Having said that, Madam Speaker, let me now answer the question from Mr. Kapyanga. Mr. Francis Kapyanga, Member of Parliament from Pika Parliamentary Constituency, is asking the Minister of Energy the following questions. In A, whether the government has plans to electrify the following areas in Mpika Parliamentary Constituency. And these areas include Chipungu, Kasuba, Nabwalia, primary schools, Kapoko, Mukonteka, Changadiro, Dik and Mutengo village, Danger Hill, Chishala, like my name, Mulosha, and Sabwa. And in B, is asking a question, if so, when the plans will be implemented. Madam Speaker, yes. Answering question A, whether we have plans. The answer in A is yes, Madam Speaker. The government of the Republic of Zambia, through the Rural Electrification Authority, REA, has always had plans to electrify the following areas in Mpika district in a phased approach, according to the Rural Electrification Master Plan of 2008. And according to the master plan, areas like Chipungu, Kasuwa, Nabwalia, Kapoko, Mukonteka, Changaliro, Dik and Mutengo village, Danger Hill, Chishala, Mulosha and Sabwa. And however, Madam Speaker, Nabwalia, Kapoko and Mukonteka were supposed to be electrified in 2017. Chishala and Sabwa in 2019, but could not be implemented due to non-availability of funds. In B, the project implementation, Madam Speaker, has already started, obviously with the conducting of feasibility studies for the electrification of Nabwalia, Kapoko, Changaliro, Dik and Mutengo village, Danger Hill, Chishala, Mulosha and Sabwa. And the total cost of implementing the project is estimated at 61 million kwacha. In addition, the feasibility studies for the electrification of the remaining areas, namely Chipungu, Mukonteka and Kasuba, are scheduled to be undertaken in September 2025. However, the subsequent electrification will be implemented in phases subject to availability of resources. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member from Mpika.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for your response. And Madam Speaker, when the Honorable Minister was commending the youths for celebrating Youth Day in their numbers, he didn't.
Oh, the Honorable Member, I think celebrations are gone. Let's move forward. Let's not go that side.
But he was allowed to veer off the question.
Oh, the Honorable Member from Mpika, please do not engage me. You are guided. Please ask your question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the question to the Honorable Acting Minister of Energy is, looking at the amount of money that you've mentioned, 61 million kwacha. For government, this is a very small amount of money, Honorable Minister. Oh, feasibility. Honorable Minister, you've not attached the time frames on when the actual electrification for projects that were scheduled in 2017 and 2019 will be implemented, because then we had a lack of funds. You've not told that, you've not stated what the status is currently regarding these projects that whose feasibility study has already been done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Honorable Member for Mpika, thank you very much for that interesting follow-up question. Interesting in the sense that 61 million indeed to you is a very small amount. But Madam Speaker, looking what has transpired, this is a master plan that was given to all of us in 2008. 2017, there was an attempt by your people in your left to do something. They failed. 2019, there was an attempt. They failed until we came in office. Then in 2023, we even started the process, Madam Speaker. And the process started by at least having a feasibility study. And that really translates into other processes that will follow. I don't want to start making government assurances. We are very, very careful that we would want to mobilize resources first, then we go and do this actual work. So I think I just want to assure my colleague, Member of Parliament from Pika, that government is trying by all means to mobilize resources so that this issue could be resolved. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
I thank you most sincerely, Madam Speaker, and you have guided that we should not comment on the preliminary remarks by the Minister regarding the Youth Day celebrations. I was tempted to, but I will proceed to ask a follow-up question, Madam Speaker. Honourable Acting Minister of Energy, are you able to indicate to the people of Umpika what model will be utilized to take power to the affected places? Are we going to run electric cables from the national grid, or are we going to, have we already designed solar systems that could be implemented? What model has been earmarked, Madam Speaker, to provide electricity to our people? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member for Kamfinsa, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, the question is very, very clear. And the question is talking about if these areas will be electrified. If there was another question that could have come like the model we're going to use, definitely would have come prepared.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker.
Sorry, Honourable Minister. I don't know, Honourable Member for Kafinsa, do you want to clarify your question? Because the Honourable Acting Minister is attempting to answer your question. Before he answers, you're already rising on a point of order. Why don't you allow the Minister to answer the question, and then if you are not satisfied, that's when you can come in. May the Honourable Acting Minister continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying, that the question was very clear, asking the Minister of Energy how they are going to electrify and when they are going to electrify the primary schools and villages that I mentioned. I was saying that if we had known that they want also to know the model that will be used, would have come prepared. But I think the way the answer is, the way the question is, it is just clear that they are just looking for how much money could be spent and when this could be done. So, Madam Speaker, I'm unable to tell which model would be used. All we know is that the RIA is working on this and also getting into the master plan that has been provided. Maybe the Honourable Member from Pika could be interested to maybe to come and check how it could be done at our offices. That will really help us. Madam Speaker, maybe to help once again, in case they may not be able to follow your guidance of visiting offices. I only know that Nagwalia will be done off-grid, and the rest are grid development projects, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, Acting Minister of Energy, the Honorable Member from Mpika asked us to the timelines, because remember you said those which were earmarked to be done in 2019 and 2017 and 2019 were not done due to financial constraints. But in your answer, substantive answer, you said the government still harbors a plan to take electricity to those named areas in Mpika constituents. So if the government still has plans, the people of Mpika are interested to know the timelines. Since 2017 and 2019 didn't work, what are the new timelines when the government will take electricity to those places? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, when we are talking about 2017, it did not work, and we know which political party was in office that time. 2019 could not be achieved as well. We also know which political party was in office, but I believe that today they are standing on the anthill to demand that it can be done now. But this government definitely will do it. Now, my answer was very clear. I said, because it was not done in 2017, it was also not done in 2019. In 2023, Madam Speaker, we started the process, which process was a feasibility study. That really tells us that things have started happening. What we are only looking at now is how we can mobilize resources so that the actual work starts. And I've also given some insights that in fact in September, the other areas that has not yet been given that feasibility study will also be on board. After that, obviously, all these will be rectified when the resources are available. What we are looking at, Honorable Member, is that we cannot just start something without resources. Let us first mobilize resources, then we can safely say that on this day we are going to start the actual works in terms of electrifying these areas. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mpika asks the Minister a question on the floor of the House. Which floor of the House the Minister stands into an anthill. Madam Speaker, 13 areas have been mentioned. And the Minister ably illustrates that all these areas will be electrified subject to availability of funds, and I appreciate that. My question to the Honorable Minister is, Honorable Minister, what do you think is a priority for the people of Mpika between, 1, electrifying all these 13 places, and 2, amending the Zambian constitution in order to increase constituencies and in order to expand the cost of running government? Thank you, Madam.
Yeah. The Honorable Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that loaded question. And I believe that we also may need a loaded answer. And I want to appreciate him Madam Speaker, first for appreciating the answers that I have given so far. And I think, thank you, Honorable Member, for that appreciation. Now, with regards to priorities, Madam Speaker, I will give you a practical example. In Kaputa constituency, I have 4 primary schools that has no electricity. So what we did, we had to allocate about 2 million kwacha, not the one that we are giving to the Minister of Energy, I would say, or local government. It's a debate for another day. So the 2 million has been earmarked to electrify using CDF. Now, I'm mentioning CDF because this is where the limitation issues comes in. Madam Speaker, it is very important that the Honorable Member supports the limitation of constituencies. And the reason is very, very simple. That will really increase on the resources that will be pumped into our constituencies. Madam Speaker, Kaputa is sitting on 33,033 square meters. It's a nation. It's a nation on its own. And now, some members of parliament are even failing to touch all the areas as they visit their constituencies. For me, this is a priority first and foremost, because some of these issues that are being brought before the House could be ably be settled using Constituent Development Fund. You can imagine, Madam Speaker, if Kaputa were divided into 2, received 72.2 million kwacha. Madam Speaker, that money can go a long way in developing our respective constituencies. But as usual, some of our colleagues, they do not look at that. Everything that you put on the table, whether it is black, for them it will look white. And I want to encourage these members of parliament. Some of these issues are not for them, it's for their people. Madam Speaker, in this house sometimes, you'll be surprised that there could be those that could tell the nation as if where they're coming from is heaven on earth. But when you get to their constituencies, it's a different story. So I'm not surprised when some people would not want all of us to amend that article to delimitate these constituencies. For me, a member of parliament would want our people to get the development they so desire. Madam Speaker, for me that is a priority. That is a priority. So if someone is talking about electrifying Nabwadia, for me, electrifying Nabwadia is a priority. But what we are saying is that today we are discussing electrifying of these areas in Mpika, and if someone wants to bring in an issue of delimitation, definitely some of us would prefer delimitating so that we have so much money in our constituencies. Madam Speaker, let's forget about those who may not praise us. In fact, we don't even expect songs of praises from our colleague. We don't expect that. But I think what is important is to encourage him to look at the constituents. What do they need? Do they need the loans? Do they need the grants? Do they need money to send them to go to skills? I think for us it is very, very important. So if in fact there are some members of parliament who have already more like resigned because they may not win 2026, no wonder. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member from Mpika, you were indicating to raise a point of order. What's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to raise a point of order. Pursuant to Standing Order number 71. Again, next to the Acting Minister of Energy, who is on the floor. Madam Speaker, the people of Mpika, through me, have asked a question because they want electricity. In his own answer, he has responded to the people of Mpika that the government does not have money to electrify these areas. In responding to Honorable Kafuaya's question, the Honorable Minister, who is responding on behalf of the government, has again contradicted himself, suggesting now the government will only have money when the limitation is done. To fund the CDF and fund the operation of government.
Order, Honorable Member from Mpika. Order. Honorable members, I think we should practice listening to how the answers are coming through. You know that as a parliament, we approve budgets, and each budget has got its own line. The money for CDF is different from rural electrification. As the Honorable Minister was answering the question, I saw you fidgeting, moving from left to right, not listening to the answers. Please, let's learn to listen so that we don't mislead ourselves. Can we make progress? The Honorable Member, so the Honorable Minister is in order. May we go to the next Honorable Member for Lubanseshi?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable, I followed you when you are providing answers. And allow me, Madam Speaker, to allow the people of Lubanseshi constituents to ask a follow-up question. And my follow-up question is regarding to what the Honorable Minister has indicated in terms of doing the feasibility studies. The situation in Mpika, in terms of looking for electricity, the same situation in Lubanseshi constituency and even in other constituencies. Lubanseshi, in particular, Luena, Mission, Njoko Primary School, Chifuile, Shimumbi, and other areas. They need electricity,
just by way
Speaker.
of guidance. Just by way of guidance, Honorable Member, order. This is a constituency-based question relating to Mpika constituency and those areas, schools that the Honorable Member from Mpika was asking about. So let's not expand the question unnecessarily. If you have a specific question for Lubanseshi, please put in a question so that we don't get the acting minister by surprise. So the Honorable Member from Mpika, you can ask your last question.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Minister indicated that Nabwalia would be done off-grid. Again, he has not attached the time frame. Madam Speaker, we ask these questions on behalf of the people. We do not ask them on behalf of the political parties that had once ruled this country before. And we expect answers to be given so that we go and help this same government to go and explain to the people, the same people that they will be needing before for votes next year. Honorable Minister, when will Nabwalia be electrified off-grid? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member from Mpika, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, you want to make it very clear that in my response, I didn't say that we don't have the money. Madam Speaker, if you conduct a feasibility study, definitely you'll be able to notice that the money has already been mobilized. For you to start a feasibility study, money is involved. So the processes have already started through the feasibility study. Now the actual work where we now need to contract a contractor who can now do the actual work. This is a process that we are looking at. So when we say that we are mobilizing resources, it doesn't mean that there is no one kwacha. Maybe the money is not just enough to complete that project. So people should not mislead anybody here. We are going to continue mobilizing more resources so that we electrify these areas. And I want to thank honorable members for saying that they don't ask questions using a political party. And if that's the case, I'll be very, very excited, because sometimes the questions that comes do not represent the people, but a political party.
Thank you very much. As the time is 16:40, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for still being with us on Parliament Television. The House has gone on a 20 minutes health break. Business is expected to resume at 17 hours. And just before the break, we had the Minister of Sport who was answering a follow-up question to the question that has been posed by Mpika Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Papianga, and he posed a question to the Minister of Energy and wanted to know when government will electrify the following in Mpika district. This is Deep, Mutengo villages, Changalilo, Nabwaria, Danger Hill Primary, Mulolesha, Mwateshi Primary School, Ndolesha Primary School, Sawa Primary School, Mukantaulo Primary School, Chishala Primary School, Changalilo Primary School, Chifundu Primary School, and Kapoko Primary School. So this question was being answered on behalf of the Minister of Energy and Business. On this question is expected to resume when the House comes back after the 20 minutes health break.
Yes, Pauline, and when business resumed at 14:30 hours, Madam Speaker did make some announcements. Madam Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Church of Eden School in Lusaka district. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
Of course, there was also a group of visitors of teachers and Ministry of Education administrators from Dundumwezi Primary, a parliamentary constituency in Kalomo.
Well, Madam Speaker also recognized the presence in the public gallery of visitors from women environs in Zambia, in Chongwe district. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
And still to come, we have one motion. This is the motion which is expected to be moved by Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalum Kosa. And in this motion, he urges that this House do adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 56th Plenary Assembly of the Southern Africa Development Community Parliamentary Forum, SADC PF, held in Livingstone, Zambia from 6th to 15th December 2020, session of on the table of the House on Monday, 3rd March. Motion expected.
Nations. That is the annual hearings at the United Nations, where countries evaluate and present their progress towards achieving the SDGs at the on a Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, Ms. State Council MP, presented the